Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Now circulatory system is one of the important systems found in the human body. Today in this video we will be discussing about a very important organ of the circulatory system, that is the heart. And we will be learning about the location, the external and the internal structure, the names of vessels leaving entering the heart, and about the names of the heart valves and the functions of the heart valves. Look at this figure of the human anatomy. Now here we see that this trunk part of our body, this is divided into two cavities with the help of a muscular sheath that is known as the diaphragm. So upper part, the cavity above the diaphragm, that is the thoracic cavity, and the cavity below the diaphragm, that is the abdominal cavity, where many organs are lodged safely over here. But the lungs and the heart, they are located in this thoracic cavity. Now look at this figure. Here we can see the diaphragm and the left lung and the right lung. Now it is very clear in this figure that between these two lungs there is a small space. Now this space, this is known as mediastinum. Okay, and it is in this space that the heart is very safely lodged over here in the center of the thoracic cavity. This, let me write it as heart over here. The heart in the human adult, it is about the size of the closed fist of a particular person. Like my heart will be of the size of my fist, and other people's heart, it will be of the size of their fist. And this heart, it is covered by a double layered membrane, a double membranous layer, which is known as the pericardium. And in between these membranes, a fluid known as pericardial fluid is present. So when the heart relaxes and contracts, the friction which is caused, that friction is absorbed by the fluid present inside these membranes, and also the heart is protected from any kind of mechanical injury caused due to outside any kind of outside accidents. When we talk about heart, a very cute figure comes in the mind. This figure, which we also consider as the symbol of love, and we can find this figure drawn at many places, on the walls, on the tree trunks, etc. And many times we find an arrow passing through this like this. All of you must have seen. Now let us consider what will happen if the arrow passes through the heart. Obviously the heart will become punctured. Okay. This symbol symbolizes falling in love. And when we come to the actual figure of heart, that is also triangular in shape, similar to this one, broad towards the upper part and narrow towards the lower part. But as we can see in this figure, the lower narrow part is somewhat tilted towards the left side of the body. Okay, and also this leftmost lower part of this heart, during heartbeat, the highest or the strongest contractions are shown by this part. That is why there is a popular notion among the common man that our heart is located towards the left side of the thoracic cavity. At this point, I would also like to say that the circulatory system, it is usually of two types found in the animal kingdom. One type which is known as the open circulatory system, where the blood vessels are lacking and the blood of these animals flows through the empty spaces present inside the body of those animals, and this is found in the bodies of the invertebrates. The second type of circulatory system is known as the closed circulatory system, which is present in all the vertebrates or the chordates, where we find the blood vessels known as the arteries, the veins and the capillaries. Okay, and the blood flows through these blood vessels and the heart present inside the body of these chordates. Now what are the chordates? The fishes, the amphibians, reptiles, birds and the mammals. There are always two types of chambers present inside the heart. The upper chambers are known as the auricles or the atria, and the lower chambers are known as the ventricles. Now when we consider the human heart, it has 4 chambers. So we can say it has 2 auricles and 2 ventricles towards the lower side, and we can write it as the left auricle, right auricle, left ventricle over here and right ventricle over here. But students, it is interesting to know that the fishes have only 2 chambered heart, that is 1 auricle and 1 ventricle. The amphibians have 3 chambered heart where 2 auricles and 1 ventricle is present. The reptiles also have 3 chambered heart where 2 auricles and 1 partially divided ventricle is present. Some of the reptiles like the crocodiles, they have 4 chambered heart also. The birds have 4 chambered heart, which means 2 auricles and 2 ventricles, and the mammals, all the mammals have 4 chambered heart, that is 2 auricles and the 2 ventricles. This figure gives a very clear picture of the external looks of the human heart. We can very clearly see the left atrium, the right atrium, the left ventricle and the right ventricle over here. We can also see the numerous blood vessels entering and leaving the heart, which we will be discussing later in this video in detail. The red colored blood vessels shown here, which are supplying oxygenated blood to the cardiac muscles of the heart, which are the arteries, and the blue colored blood vessels, which are the veins, which are shown here, collecting deoxygenated blood from the cardiac muscles of the heart and carrying that to the chambers of the heart, the right auricle of the heart. Okay, it is very interesting also to know, students, that the right side of the heart always carries the deoxygenated blood and the left side of the heart always carries the oxygenated blood. We use the term deoxygenated and oxygenated here. It is improper to use the term pure and impure blood. Okay. Now look at these 2 figures. This is the figure internal structure of the heart given in the textbooks, and students, while looking at this, many times we feel it is so much complicated and we are not able to understand. So we are going to discuss the different structures with the help of a simple diagrammatic figure, and all the blood vessels we are going to discuss over here. Now as we can see here, the left atria, the right atria, the left ventricle, the right ventricle are clearly shown in this figure. Okay, the 4 chambers are very clearly visible over here. Now what are the other important structures we see here? Look at the muscular nature of the auricles. We can see here that the muscles present on the auricles, they are developed, but they are less developed when contrast to the muscles present in the ventricles of the heart. This means the ventricles of the heart is much more muscular, as we will learn that they have to pump blood to very far distances, whereas the auricles have to pump blood only to the ventricles lying next to them. Now look at the muscular nature, and here we see that the muscular wall of the left ventricle, that is the most developed. Now let me show you the blood vessels originating from the heart. Now from the left ventricle of the heart originates the largest artery. Okay, arteries are the blood vessels, students, that carry blood from heart to different other parts of the body. Now you can see here this artery, which is known as the aorta. This is the largest artery found in the body. Let me mark the direction of the blood flow. From the left ventricle, it is moving out like this, and as we can see here at this junction, this aorta, let me name it, this is known as aorta. This takes a U-turn like this, and it bends downwards, and it moves in the downward direction like this, going to the lowest part of the body, supplying oxygenated blood to the different parts of the body. So when it takes a bend like this, now it comes to be known as the dorsal aorta. This is the difference. Aorta emerging from the heart, it bends. Now it is known as the dorsal aorta. Now from this aorta, as soon as it comes out, as you can see in the figure over here, students, many blood vessels originate like this from here. They have to supply the oxygenated blood to the neck, the shoulders, the head part, etc. And the part going downwards, from here also at different junctions, a pair of blood vessels keep coming out, supplying blood to the different organs of the body. So one of the largest blood vessels found in our body. Thus another large blood vessel which arises from the right ventricle. Now let me show it here, students. Let me show it in blue ink to mark the difference. Okay, this is black. From the right ventricle originates another important blood vessel. Okay, it goes over the aorta like this, coming out over the aorta like this. Okay, after coming out, it bifurcates into two parts like this. As you can see here, bifurcates into two parts, one moving towards the left side, the other part moving towards the right side like this. Okay, this figure which I have shown in the blue, this is another large vessel, and this is known as the pulmonary artery. Why pulmonary? Because the blood vessel which bifurcates here into two more arteries, one going to the left lung and the other going to the right lobe of the lung, and providing deoxygenated blood. The blood carried by pulmonary artery is always deoxygenated, carries the blood to the lungs for the purpose of oxygenation, and the blood carried by the aorta, that is always oxygenated, supplying the oxygenated blood to different parts of the body. Always remember, students, that the term pulmonary is associated with the lungs. Pulmonary arteries means arteries supplying blood to the lungs. Pulmonary veins means blood vessels which are carrying the blood from the lungs to the heart. Okay, so that is about the pulmonary. Now another important set of blood vessels arising from the heart, or we can say as soon as the aorta emerges out from the left ventricle, a pair of blood vessels, I am showing it here in green color just to understand the difference. A pair of blood vessels arise from the aorta immediately as soon as it comes out of the left ventricle, and these pair of blood vessels, they are known as the coronary arteries. Okay, coronary arteries, very important blood vessels. And these coronary arteries, once coming out from the aorta, they give out many sub branches, and they supply blood to all the muscles of the heart. As you can see over in this figure, students, the coronary artery. Now see, after coming out, the coronary artery has divided into the left coronary artery, the right coronary artery, and again the different sub branches of the coronary artery. So it supplies oxygenated blood to the muscles of the heart, and any problem in the coronary artery or any blockage in the coronary artery, that will hamper the functioning of the heart muscles. Now students, if any of these vessels, the left coronary artery or the right coronary artery or the sub branches, they become blocked due to any reason, that area of the muscle of the heart, that will not receive the blood, and hence it will not receive the oxygen and the food also. So in such a case, in the absence of supply of oxygenated blood or in the absence of supply of oxygen, the deadening of the muscle of that area where that particular artery was supplying blood, that takes place. Okay, deadening of the muscle, and this deadening of the muscles, that is known as myocardial infarction. Okay, the biological term that is known as myocardial infarction. Okay, and in a common language, this is known as the heart attack. And the pain which is felt during this myocardial infarction, R will come here, infarction, that is known as angina. Angina, usually we call it angina. The full term is known as angina pectoris. This is known as the heart attack. So heart attack means no supply of oxygen to a part of the muscle of the heart. So that is why you see many times a person can survive the first heart attack. Why? Because only a small area of the muscle has become deadened. Second heart attack, he or she may also survive because maybe another small area of the heart muscle has become deadened. But a third heart attack becomes very vital because it can take the life of the person, because now altogether a large area of the heart muscles become deadened and stop functioning. In many people, the first heart attack is also very deadly because maybe the large coronary artery has become blocked and a large area of the heart muscles, they are not receiving the blood, and the death of these muscles will cause the stoppage of the heartbeat. No blood will be supplied to the different parts of the body, and this takes the life of the person. Now let's check the blood vessels entering the heart. Like we can see in this figure, two very large blood vessels shown here in blue color, they enter the right side, right auricle of the heart. Okay, so we will find, let us look at this figure. Let me make here one large blood vessel here, bringing blood from the chest, the neck, the head, the arms, etc., bringing deoxygenated blood to the right auricle of the heart. And this blood vessel, this is known as the superior vena cava. Okay, it is the superior, or sometimes it is also referred to as the anterior vena cava. And another large blood vessel coming from the lower direction, coming from the lower part, the abdomen and the legs of the body part, bringing deoxygenated blood, and that too it is having its opening here in the right auricle. Okay, so this one is known as the inferior vena cava, inferior vena cava, or it is also known as the posterior vena cava. Okay, so both these large blood vessels, the vena cava, which also comprise the largest veins found in the body, these two bring deoxygenated blood from the different parts of the body to the right auricle. Another important blood vessel enters here in the right auricle, the opening of which I am showing over here, and this is known as the coronary vein. Okay, coronary vein or the coronary sinus. And this coronary vein, it brings deoxygenated blood in the right auricle from the muscles, the cardiac muscles of the heart. So three blood vessels are bringing deoxygenated blood into the right auricle of the heart. Now let us check the left auricle. We will find, students, that in total there are 4 pulmonary veins. 2 veins coming from the right lung, 2 veins coming from the left lung. These in total 4 pulmonary veins, they come, and all of these 4 veins, they open inside the left auricle of the heart, like this. Left auricle of the heart, all the 4 pulmonary veins, 2 from right lung, 2 from left lung, they open in the left auricle of the heart, and these 4 pulmonary veins, they always bring oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left auricle of the heart. Some other important structures found in the human heart, we can see between the left auricle and the left ventricle, 2 cup-like valves are present. Just look at the shape. They are convex towards the auricle side and concave towards the ventricle side. Because these valves are 2 in number between the left auricle and left ventricle, these are known as the bicuspid valves, or they are also known as the mitral valves. But when we look at the junction of right auricle and right ventricle, again we find these cup-shaped valves, but here these are 3 in number. So they are known as the tricuspid valves. Now these valves are kept in their proper position with the help of certain thread-like structures. These thread-like structures arise from the edge of these valves like this, and they join the muscles of the heart like this here at the base, from here also. So these thread-like structures, these which are known as the chordae tendineae, they help in keeping these valves in the proper position. Look at the structures of the chordae tendineae here, very clearly shown over here in this figure. The tricuspid valves are also known as the right atrioventricular valve, and the bicuspid valves are also known as the left atrioventricular valves. Apart from these valves, we find certain flap-like structures or certain semilunar valve-like structures at the base of the pulmonary artery and aorta also. The junction where the right ventricle opens into the pulmonary artery, we find here two semilunar valves. These, because it is attached with the pulmonary artery, these valves are known as the pulmonary semilunar valves. Similarly, we find two semilunar valves or two cup-shaped valves present here at the junction where the left ventricle opens into the aorta, and so these two semilunar valves or the pocket-like valves, they are known as the aortic semilunar valves. Now students, what is the importance of these valves present over here at these four positions? Now the tricuspid valve, the bicuspid valve, or all these valves together, they facilitate the movement of blood in one direction only. When the blood moves from right auricle to right ventricle, these valves are pushed open, but the blood which comes into the right ventricle once cannot flow back into the right auricle because these two valves, it becomes closed. Because of its cup shape, it becomes full of blood over here. Same thing happens with the bicuspid valves. Blood can flow from left auricle to left ventricle, but it cannot flow in the backward direction. Similarly, blood can flow only from the right ventricle into the pulmonary artery, but it cannot come back because these pocket-like structures become full of blood and close the opening. Similarly, blood from left ventricle can pass into the aorta, but this blood from aorta cannot come back into the left ventricle because these aortic valves become closed because their pockets become full of blood. Okay, so these valves, they help in facilitating the unidirection of the movement of the blood. This was part 1 of the circulatory system. In the next video, I will be discussing about circulation of blood in heart, heartbeat, heart sounds, and pacemaker. And finally the third video, where I will be discussing about the body fluids and blood vessels. Thank you till then.